I've been doom scrolling a lot recently, and because of it, I think I've lost the ability to form a thought. But before I get into that, let me tell you what I'm doing today. So I'm playing this mod pack called Vanilla Perfected, which has around 200 mods, but it doesn't stray too far away from just normal vanilla Minecraft. I think it adds a few mods to make the game look a lot better, and it also adds a few mods just to make the game a lot more fun. But I haven't really done my research, as you can tell. But yeah, apart from that, back to the video. So I've been doom scrolling a lot recently, as I said, and it's due to the fact that I got a remote job recently. With the remote job, I have a lot more extra time, a lot more extra free time, and with this extra free time, I thought I would be spending it going to the gym or just improving my life, working on personal projects that I've always wanted to work on. But instead, I'm spending that time doom scrolling, just being on my phone, watching YouTube, pretty much doing useless stuff. And it's a little bit frustrating, to be honest, because I was so excited to have this remote job. I was like, I finally don't have an excuse to be working on myself. But I found myself spending the time doing things that are not improving my life at all. And before this remote job, I had an office job where I had to go into the office from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. every single day. And on top of that, I'd wake up at 7:30 and get home at 6:30. So from 7:30 to 6:30, I pretty much did not use my phone. I might have been averaging around 1 or 2 hours in the office, and then overall throughout the day, probably 3 or 4 hours, which still doesn't sound great. But it's a big improvement from now, which is around like 7 hours, I'd say. And at the job, it wasn't like I couldn't use my phone. It wasn't like I wasn't allowed to use my phone. I definitely was allowed to if I really wanted to. But I got extremely lucky with my colleagues. I just had a good group of guys, and it was really fun being there. As much as I hated the job itself, I didn't enjoy what I was doing at all, and it was a bit toxic with the leadership. But the colleagues made the job very fun, so I definitely don't have any regrets. I'm very happy that I decided to change jobs, as sad as it is that I don't get to see my colleagues anymore. All my colleagues that I was friends with left as well, so it's not much of a difference. I realize it might not be very easy to understand what I'm talking about in this video, so let me give you a little bit of an example here. So let's say I'm coming up with a YouTube video idea or just an intro or a thumbnail idea. Instead of just sitting there and brainstorming on my own, I immediately go look for inspiration. I go on other channels that are similar to mine, videos that are similar to mine, or I just ask AI what they think is best. And that definitely just isn't the way to go. And I'm not saying inspiration is a bad thing. I think inspiration is great, especially with YouTube, because everything is pretty much been done in YouTube. Like there's so many videos being posted every single day where it would be impossible to come up with something completely brand new. But I think the beauty of YouTube is the uniqueness of every creator. And that kind of dies down when you just use AI or if you just look for inspiration immediately. And that's something that I do all the time nowadays. I mean, I can't say all the time because I post maybe once every few months, so I'd be lying if I say all the time. But every time I do make a YouTube video, that definitely is the case. Another example would be something that actually happened recently to me. So a few days ago, my mom was showing me this cool retro camera that she has, and I feel bad calling it retro because it's only 20 years old or so. It's just one of those camcorder things that has like a flip screen that flips out. And now I'm saying that out loud, I just realized some of you might not even know what that is because you're too young, and that makes me feel so old. It's kind of disgusting. But anyways, if you don't know what that is, it's like any other camera. But I just thought it was really cool. And I wanted to use it, but I couldn't because the screen was broken or it just wasn't turning on. And instead of just sitting there and thinking of why this could be the case or what the possible fixes could be, I took a photo of the screen and put it to ChatGPT and asked what it thinks the problem is. And this was like an instant thing. I just sent it to ChatGPT immediately instead of just thinking on my own for even a little bit. But if we're being honest here, it's not like I actually had any chance of figuring it out because I'm not like a technician or I'm not great with technology or anything. But even a few years ago, if my parents were asking me to fix the TV, I didn't have the option to just ask AI what it thinks the answer is. I would have to sit there and try to come up with anything that I could, and if I couldn't, I would just search it on Google. But the main difference there is with Google, you actually have to go through a bunch of different websites and read all these different websites and figure out which one is the best and which one actually relates to your specific issue, which is so different to AI or ChatGPT because I can just search it and it'll just tell me the answer instantly. And I guess the counter argument to this is, why would you spend time and waste your energy on thinking about something when you could just get the instant answer by searching it up? And I do agree to that to some extent. For example, at my current job that I mentioned earlier, if I can't figure something out, I will just search it up. And that's a scenario where I don't think I would want to think about it because it's a job that I don't enjoy. It's not like my passion or anything. I just do it to get paid. And in this scenario, if I just search it up and get the answer quicker, that means I'd have to work less hours that day. And that just means I get to work on things that I actually want to. So I do agree to that counter argument. But when it comes back to a point like that YouTube argument that I gave a little bit earlier, I think it's just nice to like exercise the brain a little bit when you're doing something creative, or even just like thinking about anything that you actually actually care about. For me, overusing my phone or just doom scrolling has affected my life in three main negative ways. And the first way is just conversations that I have on the daily. I can tell that my conversation skills are getting worse as time goes on. And I guess this mostly applies for just strangers and not friends, but in some scenarios, I guess it affects my conversations I have with my friends as well. But I feel like because I use my phone all day and I'm just doom scrolling all day and my dopamine receptors are so fried, I don't have the interest anymore in talking to strangers at all. And I know that's pretty normal for a lot of people, but for a guy like me who, for most of my life, I've been pretty social, it's a very weird feeling. And I don't really like it, and I want to go back to being able to speak to strangers because it was pretty fun when I was able to do it, man. I mean, I guess being able to do it is a little bit different. I just don't feel like I have an interest in getting to know new people anymore. And I guess you could say it's because I already have like a pretty great friend group and I don't really need to make new friends, but I think that's not the best way to live. You learn and you grow so much by talking to strangers, and I prefer to be living that way. But as I said, I just don't have the interest anymore in getting to know these people. And it's not even just that. If I'm already in a conversation with one of these strangers, I feel like I don't even know what to say to them. I can't think of anything on the spot to ask them or anything, so it's always a little bit awkward. If they don't carry the conversation will just die down immediately. And another thing is, I feel like I'm not as witty as I used to be. And when I say this, I'm talking about humor specifically. My humor for the most of my life has been pretty responsive. And when I say this, I mean, when someone says something, I just bounce off what they say. Or if someone says something funny, I add on to it. But now I don't think I have the speed anymore to come up with anything quick enough to say anything anymore. And it sucks because that was like the best thing about me, like the best trait about my humor. Maybe not about me, that's a bit far-fetched, but just about my humor in specific. Not being able to have these conversations anymore is actually one of the main reasons why I'm back to posting on this channel. Immediately you might not see the connection, but I want to start using this channel to just practice my speaking skills. To be able to speak more slowly, to be able to speak more clearly, and also to be able to speak with less filler words. A bad habit that I have right now is I end my sentences with but or and just because I think I'm going to say something but then I have nothing to say, so I just end the sentence without a full stop. Hopefully I don't fall into the same trap that I did when I first started this channel, which was the fact that I would just speak about things that I'm not actually interested in just so I can say I posted that day. I was posting daily at the time, so sometimes I just wouldn't have topics to speak about, so I would just start speaking about random things that I did not care about. The second way that doom scrolling has affected me in a negative way is the lack of curiosity that I have now. I think doom scrolling and just using my phone all the time has completely killed curiosity for me. And the main reason probably is the amount of information that I'm getting fed every single day. Every time I do a swipe, every 3 seconds I get a new thing people are talking about. Hence, half of the things I don't care about at all, and it's just useless brain rot. But it's still information that's being fed to my brain, and that probably isn't healthy at all, and it probably is the main reason to why my curiosity is completely gone out the window now. I think curiosity is a great thing, and everyone should always be curious and asking questions about anything in life to develop, to just grow. But because of damn TikTok and damn Instagram Reels, I'm just not doing that anymore. However, saying that, I also do think another main reason to why I no longer am curious about things is because I'm no longer in a forced environment where I'm getting taught things, or in a forced environment where I have to learn and think. And when I say this, I'm talking about how I'm no longer in an educational phase of my life. So I've graduated from high school, I've graduated from university, and now I'm working, as I mentioned earlier. So there's no need for me to learn. I could go the rest of my life without learning something new if I really, really wanted to. And that naturally makes me just think less and makes me question things less and makes me just less curious as a person. In high school, I was never the student to raise their hand to ask questions or answer any questions. But as stupid as it sounds, I still had to focus on what the teacher was saying. And it wasn't because I was interested. Trust me, I did not care about school at all. And it's kind of sad. I wish I did care a little bit more about school. The reality is I did not care. But I still had to be focused just in case the teacher asked me anything, because I wouldn't want to act like a fool around my peers and not know the answer to anything the teacher says. So I'd still be like semi-locked in. So that would naturally make me more curious about whatever the teacher was teaching me, even if it was a subject that I didn't care about. Talking about subjects that I care about, I think psychology was the only subject I ever enjoyed in my school career. I enjoyed it so much to the point where if I could go back and change my university degree and know that nothing will change now and my life will still be the same, I'll change my university course from business management to psychology. And at the time I didn't choose psychology just because it doesn't have much career paths from it. Like, no offense if anyone is a psychology major here, but like the truth is there isn't much traditional career paths that you have with psychology. It's not like business opens many doors either, but I would have caught some crazy strays from my family if I even tried to choose psychology as my major. But in high school, It was so cool because it was like one of the only subjects where we were learning about things that wasn't just straight theories about boring stuff. Like business, for example. Like I'm interested in business, but learning business in a school format was never fun because it was just like outdated theories that was just extremely boring and never like anything that you can apply to the real world, right? Also, what the hell is this? It's just a random well in the middle of the world. Oh, okay. I assumed there would be a village nearby, but I don't see no village. In psychology, there were theories, obviously, and there were some boring things that we learned about. But there were so many cool things that we learned about as well. So many cool case studies, so many cool experiments. For example, this experiment that was done by this guy called Zimbardo. He pretty much had all these participants in a prison scenario, and half of these participants he gave the prisoner role, and the other half were police officers slash wardens. And these participants were just told to just act like their jobs, right? Like they pretty much just had to live in a prison for a week or two. But Zimbardo had to cut the experiment off 3 days in just because the police officers or the wardens genuinely started believing that they were police officers in real life. They let the authority go straight to their head, which was like a crazy thing to learn about. And naturally, you would want to ask questions like, why did that happen? Why do these police officers truly think they're police officers? Why do they truly believe that these prisoners are bottom feeders and are not on the same level as them? Like, it's kind of crazy when you think about it. And on top of that, we also got to learn about addiction. We got to learn about depression, all these topics that I would never really know much about. We got to learn about them in such detail. Like, I would have never known that people would be willing to hospitalize themselves purposely just to be closer to the drugs that they want to get. And when we were learning about those things, I would want to ask why is addiction a thing? Like, why are these people actually willing to hurt themselves just so they can get a taste of the drug that they're addicted to? And it was nice to have like a spark and just be curious about something all the time. It was really cool. And the nearest thing to that I have nowadays is probably philosophy. I've gotten really interested into philosophy recently. And I'm still very on the surface with it. Like, I don't really know much about it at all. I haven't looked into it too much. I've just been watching a lot of YouTube videos to go to sleep to. And it's just videos of people talking about random philosophy topics. And I thought it would be like the perfect video to sleep to, but instead I just lie there just thinking about what they're talking about. I lie there and think of all the scenarios that they're talking about, like what I would do in those situations, just cool things like that. And it's nice to be curious again, but I just want to be curious about everything again in life, and I've just been missing that a little bit. And then the last way my phone has affected me in a negative way is creativity. When I was a kid, I was such a creative kid, and I always thought I was going to do something creative in my life. But fast forward like 10 years and I don't do anything creative at all. And I think a creative outlet is super important for everyone, as much as it probably differs depending on the person. Speaking on behalf of myself and just my friends, I can't speak on behalf of everyone. Every time I was doing something creative and I had a creative outlet in my life, I enjoyed life a lot more at those times. For me personally, I think creativity just gives me purpose, and when I get to express my way in a creative way, it just makes me happy. And the fact that I don't have anything like that anymore in my life is just kind of sad. I'm working on it. I really want to do something with storytelling. I feel like storytelling is my calling, and it's the thing that I've called to do in life. Like when I was a kid, I used to do stop motion films. I used to make YouTube videos. I used to make comic books. I used to read all the time. I used to watch WWE just for the storyline. I used to watch movies for the storyline. Or like the character development arc, like for Cars, for example. As stupid of an example as this sounds. But Lightning McQueen, right? In the first Cars movie, it was actually inspirational. His story of how he went from a bratty rookie, an overconfident rookie, to this classy guy that actually appreciated family and appreciated friends, understood what teamwork did for him, and he just got humbled, and it was actually such an inspiring story. As much as it's just a movie for kids, it is an unreal movie. Also, dude, where is this damn buried treasure, man? I am right on the X. I am on the X over here, and I just can't seem to find it. I know there's like the F3 thing I can do, but with this mod pack, it really simplifies the F3 thing, and I can't figure it out. As much as I want to blame my phone for all of this though, I also know one of the main reasons is just because of the era I am in my life, the stage I am in my life. I'm only on my second job, and a lot of my friends are just on their first job, they just graduated recently. So naturally we're heavily focused on our career and just making money, right? Like it's a very natural thing to do at this age. And I think because of that, creativity just has to take the backseat. Unless you're trying to do something creative for your career, it's very easy to forget about a creative outlet. And I guess that's exactly what has happened with me and my friends. We've just forgotten about the creative side of life. And as silly as this may sound, I think art has become a lost art. And when I say that out loud, it does sound really stupid, but hear me out. I think people are just appreciating art a lot less nowadays. And you could argue that it's AI's fault and it's all because of what AI has done to art, but I don't even want to get into that, to be honest. Even outside of that though, because of like black pill content and looks maxing and all the different type of brain rot that there is nowadays, anyways. People just care about art less and just are valuing different things in life. I'm not saying art's the most important thing ever, and I'm not gonna lie and say I always value art. But the older I get, the more I'm valuing it for sure. And I don't just mean like drawings and paintings, I'm also talking about videos and music, pretty much any form of art, honestly. And in a way, I think people would argue that these videos can be seen as a creative outlet, but I think otherwise. I'm just playing Minecraft and I'm speaking over it. There isn't anything creative that I'm doing. If I did build like cool things in Minecraft, then maybe that would be creative, but I'm not doing that just yet. I do want to do that at some point, but I'm not doing it just yet. The creative outlet that I do want to do is YouTube videos, but videos that is based on storytelling, as I mentioned earlier. A lot of it might just be traveling or just documenting things that I've always wanted to do. I've got a cool vision in my head and I don't want to speak too much about it before I actually start working on it. But I think that's what I want to do for 2026. I want that to be one of my main focuses. But apart from that, I just need to get off my damn phone, bro. I'm on my phone all day. The last thing that I wanted to quickly talk about is brain fog, and I think that's what I'm experiencing right now. That's why I think I'm lacking in conversations, why I'm not able to form a thought, as I mentioned in the start of the video. When people used to mention the term brain fog, I never actually thought it was a real thing. I thought people were just exaggerating. But they're definitely not, because I'm experiencing it right now. My brain's just never clear. I feel like I used to be able to come up with such cool ideas all the time, and I used to be able to think very quickly. But I feel my IQ just decreasing day by day. I feel like I can't think on my own ever anymore. And it's sad. But it's definitely fixable, and that's the good thing. Oh my god. Are you serious? Oh my god, I've lost everything. I have no idea which way I went. Oh, I mean, I don't have anything else to say anyways, but what a start to the video. Pretty much this whole episode has gone to waste because there's no way I'll be able to find my stuff. Lovely. If you guys did end up enjoying this video, however, please do leave a like and subscribe. And if you're still watching till now, you're definitely enjoying it, so you might as well click on the video that just popped up. Or don't, it's obviously up to you. Thank you guys for watching and have a great night. Peace.